here at some point where you're talking. I got to post this on our website. We are live with the Nerdrotic podcast. My name is Gary Beekler. I am live in San Francisco, California, and I am with my wife,
Melissa Wagner.
How are you all doing? What a crazy episode. It's hard for me to think about it in the last few minutes because I've been trying to set all this nonsense up. But that was crazy, and it seemed very long, didn't it?
It did seem extra long. And there were so many things happening simultaneously. My notes are a mess.
They are a mess. But thankfully, we're going to have a couple people helping us. We're going to have a couple guests later on. But let's quickly go over. Sorry, my hat's crooked. Sorry.
Nobody knows.
I noticed. Let's get the mic a little closer there. And well, let's just start at the beginning now. We ended pretty much right where last episode left off. We had
the opening scene, which was the mechanical Dolores
that was
scene.
Crazy, and
really
I missed that the first time I went through it. But that's the sci-fi that we just love, right? That was brilliant. You know, I
see the inner workings and her waking up to. Well, she's basically flashing back to her very first memory.
Yes.
Of Arnold putting her on.
Yeah, and we're finding out that these memories aren't like two memory streams or three. It's like multiple memory streams. Like each thing with William was at a different point in time, which was crazy, and we'll get into that later. But I really liked it. I love the mechanical versions. I'm kind of with the Man in Black on that one. I love the metal robot versions as opposed to the 3D printed ones that we got later. And I still think they might
soft shell crap.
Yeah, the originals, you know, kind of like the original vampires, you know. So there might be some factions going on there, but so we started out with I'm looking at your notes here. We started out with that flashback with Arnold / Bernard. And that was a very cool scene, but it jumps right into her giving the Man in Black a shave. And you know, just you know, showing more and more that they still can't harm, or we think they can't harm the guests.
Well, at that memory, she probably couldn't, but that moves forward. And, you know, just backing up just a little bit to the mechanical, when Arnold turns on Dolores, you know, she's speaking, like you hear her consciousness sort of saying, like, I know what you want now. I know what it is now. And it was for them to play the game. So when the Man in Black is looking for the maze and looking for the maze, and the maze isn't meant for you, it was meant for Dolores.
Yes. And it just, when they get to the actual maze, it turns out to be just a little puzzle box. And it looks, you know, very 1800s. And what was the name of the
Pigs in Clover.
Pigs in Clover, which you found an app.
Well, Pigs in Clover, it basically was like, if you're a pig in clover, you're basically like rolling in it. You're rolling in dough, you're doing really well, but it's like basically having an excess of whatever it is you find highly desirable. So you're like, you know, rolling like a pig in clover. And so that's the name of this little puzzle box game. And I looked it up, and there's actually an app for it. And I finally, after 10 minutes, got the puzzle solved. And I have to say, you know, I work with my hands all day, so I have really good dexterity. And it was not an easy one to do, but I posted a screenshot so you could see my screenshot of how I finally solved at least the one in the app. So, you know, it was an actual game. And there are some vintage images and stuff. So this is, you know, a callback to something that actually was a toy, which, you know, a puzzle toy, which I find, you know, interesting.
Oh, I'm sure they're going to start making them, and they'll be on sale at Comic-Con next year.
Making them again.
And I'm sorry, because I have ADHD. Did you mention the fact that when you're playing the game, how hard it is? Like every time you get one in,
because there's doors in and doors out,
so
you're looping and looping and looping. And I was like, I could see how this was a really good analogy, because what you've been talking about in all the episodes is all the timelines, and you're never ever really able to get all the ducks in a row. And that's what I found was really hard with this game, because as soon as one would come in, one would go back out, one would come in and one would go back out, and you'd have to loop them all around again. So I think that, you know, this whole season has been sort of like trying to get them all, like get a few of them on the same loop so that Maeve can have her army.
Yes. And we did, you know, we had Dolores coming in, Maeve going out, and a couple of times. And it, you know, it it's interesting.
Play the game.
Yeah, it's well, and we
Reminds
find
me of
out
one flew over the cuckoo's nest. Play the game. Play the game.
So yeah, play the game. Sorry, folks, I got to do this real quick. I got to put this on our website. So give me a moment, and this is gonna have our volume is gonna pop up here.
We're gonna blow all the speakers.
I hope not. I hope not. Oh, it's not there. There it is. No. Interesting. No. Oh, I got to refresh it. Okay. Well, here, I'm going to go into live events, and this is where I got to go find it. And I want to, I got to turn the volume down on there. Right. There we go. And share it. Please bear with me. I'm almost finished. I'm putting this on our website on a little widget. There we go. And that is done. That bit of business is done. So thanks for sitting through that. The next thing, so much happened in this episode. It's like bundled in my mind right now.
Okay, so Dolores gets with the man in black. She's giving him a shave. They're having a conversation, but that is a past conversation.
Yeah, and we get a pretty big reveal. And this is one of the things that the internet kind of ruined for me. And I just need to stay off that damn internet. Yeah,
I wasn't ruined for it. And I was like, this reveal was way better, I thought, than any of the reveals last week.
And it was a really good reveal that usually I'm just going to come out and say it. William is the man in black. We finally get confirmation. And a lot of people got there on their own, but a lot of people didn't. And it was all over the internet. So it did kind of take away from the reveal for me a little bit. But if I hadn't have been spoiled, I probably would have gotten there on my own, but I still would have loved seeing it kind of happen.
Well, that moment where it was like, it took like a couple of like little things. And then I was like, oh. Yeah. It was pretty exciting.
That was a great cut.
Yeah.
Like when he put the hat on and he came back up and it was Ed Harris's face.
But I mean, you get it way before that.
You do. But I mean, and that was my choice to seek it out on the internet. I could just not do that. And I don't for a lot of things. And that's one of the things about being a comic shop owners. People would come in, and I remember one guy rolling in one time going, "Man, Dumbledore died." I'm like, thanks.
Faster, get out of my store.
Jackass. It's like, what a dick, and that kind of thing would happen. But that's the place you're it's safe to talk about that stuff. So I just kind of put up with it, and that's the deal. But we also, through that, we see that William did love Dolores, and it was kind of effed up. What his reality of it, his reality was, he's at the same place where Dr. Ford is, where humans are shite. And I don't think he was, when he saw Dolores, he went through this big journey, and he took Logan out to the ends of the park and stripped him naked, had him on a horse, and just completely cucked him. And in that became, he was still in love with Dolores. And after he got back to his journey, and he was feeling pretty good about himself. He saw Dolores again, and she had been wiped and didn't recognize him. And he went, oh. And that's when, more than when seeing her as a machine, that's when he realized, oh, this is just a fucking game. And that's how he saw life.
And that's why, it's like he could have love for her, but then in later episodes you see like he's so mean to her, and violates her and all of this stuff because he blames her. He basically holds a huge resentment.
I guess he does.
Her.
Yeah.
Dude, she's a robot.
Sorry,
you brought this on yourself.
I was
sort
thinking
of like you and your spoilers.
Dude logic right there. Sorry, but you're right. And it made him a monster, which he always kind of was. And it's kind of funny, don't you think? This is kind of a teenager
it's like Logan
thing?
said, it brings out your true nature, and he did find himself, and he found that he is a monster. But this is, like you said, they're out in the real world. It's like so homogenized and so politically correct. He feels alive when he's in Westworld, because you feel the most alive when you're suffering.
Yeah, and they point that out a lot, and that's a great point. I hope they show more of the real world, and I hope it's kind of like Demolition Man, where if you cuss, you get a little ticket, and and it's really repressed, and it's like New Puritan. A lot can be said about maybe that's going on now. I don't know, but
trophies for everybody.
Trophies for everybody. Yay, we're all winners. Do I get a podcasting trophy? Do we get a podcasting trophy for this? We should.
I think we deserve it, just because we showed up.
Because we showed up.
We participated.
With a microphone. Yeah. So William, and like I was just saying, he kind of got to that was a very teenager thing he got to in his late 30s, don't you think? So this must be a repressed society. Yeah. And not Emo Gonzalez, who will be on this episode later. We're talking emo, like the bad, evil emo. So then we have
Teddy returns by train.
And that was a callback. Did he? I didn't catch it. Did he reach for his chest?
He did not reach for his chest. No.
But he goes back, and all of a sudden, Teddy's starting to remember, and
he sees he has a little flash where he doesn't reach for that thing, but for the wound, but he does look out, and he's in the town, and all of a sudden he sees the dead. Like, he sees everybody mowed down and sees the bodies piled up in the streets. So I mean, he definitely is beginning to have his glitchiness, right?
Yeah. And I have been noticing that he's horrified by it. He's not like, oh, this is, I'm part of the robot team now. He's just kind of, oh shit. So they did mention with Maeve that your personality is based on your base code. And it just amplifies from there. And, Dolores is a good person, but remember that they, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but they injected
just a little bit. Everything crisscrosses so much. It's just got to put it out there. So she gets her Wyatt-iness input, right?
Yeah, she's Wyatt.
Maeve's core code. Remember, she's trying to escape in this one. She's trying to get on that train and get out of there and get into the real world. But her core code is she's a mother.
Yes, that's right.
So she ends up, and I'll jump ahead here, she ends up not giving that up because Felix does find out where that creature is located, and she ends up jumping off the train. So that's going to be something that we'll see following up in the next season, is Maeve searching for her daughter.
And we also found out that somebody had programmed Maeve to escape. She wasn't making any of these decisions on her own. I suspect it was Dr. Ford, but they don't really tell you. There are a lot of open ends that we will get into with the guys later, because quite frankly, Melissa and I didn't get all of them, and
well, I thought it was, I think it's implied that it's Bernard, because
they
say that, oh, you woke me up.
Arnold.
Well, Bernard.
Was it? Well, Bernard was the one who discovered it, though.
But Bernard's gonna keep going with it because he says that he's woken her up several times.
Yes.
So
this wasn't.
We know that this isn't the first time that that's happened. So he must be the one that's messing with the core code.
I'm really happy how they, and we'll get to it later, but how they looped around and kind of salvaged what could have been bad. I mean, it was going on a road to where after the William reveal, most shows would have just kind of been, okay, that's good, we'll give you another little one. But it amps up to 11 after that, and it really ended very, very well. I mean,
they pack a lot in.
Crazy cliffhanger.
And then it flashes back again. So we go back to Dolores and the Man in Black, Williams.
Yep.
Right. And after she takes him, so she takes him to the center of the maze.
Oh yeah, he starts beating her, and then she decides she doesn't want to take it anymore and starts kicking his ass.
Yeah, she breaks his arm.
And breaks his arm pretty horrifically. Drags him into the church. And pretty much could have offed him right there. I don't know why she didn't. I'm probably because she still had some love for him.
Yeah,
in some way.
She does. She feels sorry for him.
Yeah, she did. She actually, that scene where she's like, "You got so old," and and then she,
I think it's more the bitterness and how lost he is.
The Wyatt kick. I mean, it's kind of like Preacher. There's some good and there's some real bad in her, and it's going to make for a real interesting character. But she has been made to kind of lead what is going to be the robot revolution, and that was another one of the big reveals. But
so he gets Dr. Ford gets all set up to announce his retirement in this episode. So
his forced retirement.
The board members are all coming in. He's been pushed out. and Charlotte strongly suggests that he announce his retirement after he presents his last narrative.
And that's after, well, we find out also that William owns the park. He's the majority shareholder.
Yes.
I don't know if we mentioned that or not. And so Charlotte, when she saw him last episode,
He
got his
mentions it a time or two.
Yeah, a time or two. Yeah. And yeah, I own the park. Did I mention I own the park? I own the park. I'm the park owner, you know. So she was getting his deciding vote, and he was all for it because he doesn't care. He was all about getting to the maze, which is truly not meant for him. So Charlotte, in her smugness, goes in his office and goes in Dr. Ford's office and tells him, you know, you got to quit. And, you know, and I would be really afraid at this point. I wouldn't have gone in there all, you know, especially since we have had a couple of disappearances and deaths. And she walks out and he's all, oh, fine. Okay, I'll quit. I mean, she did kind of go, you know, kind of, huh?
No, she's nervous.
Yeah.
She's nervous through the whole presentation, actually. If you look at her, she's like sort of on the verge of tears. And I don't think it's because it's the ending of an era.
No. And, you know, okay, so
we have to flash.
We have to flash.
We have a lot of scenes to cover.
Okay, so we have to flash too.
This next thing is Maeve waking up her army. And and they're turning on the engineers.
Yes,
right?
And that was
so
my
she's
favorite
making
scene.
her she's making her way to her escape, right? And the engineers have in the repair shop the man with the scar, you know, Maeve's kind of boyfriend.
Yeah.
And the girl with the snake tattoo.
His other girlfriend. Yeah.
And so they're being repaired and they snap awake.
By the way, girl with the snake tattoo, my personal favorite character.
Yeah, we know.
Okay. I might have mentioned that.
Yeah.
Owner of the park. Okay. So, and she bites off a dude's finger. That's not sexy.
No, there's a lot of not sexy going on.
That's
and the
not...
other one's getting molested by a pervy little engineer with a flair for 80s club music.
Yeah. And you know what? As much as I'd like to say that, like, what an unprofessional work environment, you know that would happen. Where is HR at Delos, by the way? Come on. They got cameras on everything, but they don't see the guys.
And Felix is still helping. Felix is still in the loop. Felix is totally enamored.
Oh, well, he's in love with Maeve.
Yeah.
And I think there's something more to it, too. I mean, we saw something to his character when he brought the bird back to life, how much joy he had.
Right.
And I think he's too good for both of them. You know, as Maeve said, you make a terrible human, and I mean that as a compliment. I don't think she needed to say that, by the way. I think we kind of got it. But maybe they don't have a programmed sense of humor. I don't know. So the scene where they're breaking out is so freaking hilarious because the girl with the snake tattoo, I'm forgetting her name, and they get these guns. Artemis? I don't know. We'll figure it out later. But when they get the automatic weapons and she fires, she's like, oh my God. They're like geeking out while they're killing people. It was awesome. I thought that was a great scene. And she is badass. And does she not remind you of Pris, Blade Runner fans? Come on, there's your Pris.
The music was even reminiscent of Blade Runner.
Yeah. Oh, totally. This could be a prequel to Blade Runner, and a good one. You know, not one that Ridley Scott is involved in. So we're gonna just take it through the Maeve. Maeve breaks out, and it gets, you know, she's aware now that these decisions were programmed into her, or she doesn't want to believe it, which is a very human quality. And she breaks her little iPad. Yeah, denial. And she, you know, they start killing people with impunity, which makes them more human. And she escapes, but she leaves her boyfriend behind. Our girl with the snake tattoo gets her arm caught in a sliding door, like a Star Trek door, and she, I guess, programs it in her boyfriend that he can't come any farther than the elevator. And she says, "Sorry, Leva," and lets him go. So, you know, I'm paraphrasing there. And she gets away.
She values her independence.
Yes, that was a good line. And she gets in the, you know, Felix had given her that note about her daughter, and it's like rolling around in her head. And she's on the train. Now, I forgot to mention that they did mention last episode that there is some kind of an explosive in one of their vertebrae. So if they get on the train, they'll go. And in the beginning of this episode, they rebuilt Maeve from scratch, and you can see one of the technicians, the bald one, replace the vertebrae. So she's good to go with one that won't explode. So she's good to go, and she, like you said earlier, her base code kicks in, which is something we all have, especially if you're a mom. Is that your base code? And she gets off the train.
It does have some pretty strong instincts attached to it.
I'm getting some dings here that I don't want to hear, so I'm sure the guys are getting impatient. We're gonna have to call. We want to run through the basic stuff before we call the guys real quick. So now let's get to what else you have in your notes there, my dear.
Well, I realized like that how the town was all buried in sand at one point. Like
Yes.
they keep flashing back, and the town was all buried in sand, so it becomes unburied. So it's there, and then it's buried, and then it's there again, you know, for the new narrative, and it gets all dug up. And I think that should have been something that really clued me into how much time had been passing. You know, the fact that it was all like buried under all that sand and then brought back out. But then
yeah, because
I thought it was interesting too how they had the Man in Black really he narrated his own story. So for once, like something becomes really linear where he talks about I did this and then I did that, and it's flashing back and it's showing it, and sort of, you know, spells out why he has so much resentment towards Dolores. And then Teddy swoops in and takes Dolores away. Right?
Yeah. Well,
because she's laying on the ground.
She was insisting somebody was coming for her.
So the Man in Black, she broke his arm. They had the knockdown, drag out fight. He ends up like stabbing her in the gut where she's been stabbed so many times before.
Yep.
And Teddy comes along. So the Man in Black is not dead. He's just got a broken arm.
Yep.
And Teddy picks her up, throws her on the horse, and she says, like, take me to where you said you would take me, where, you know, where the mountains meet the sea. And they take off on horseback out into the sunset. And this is where you start to get this feeling like this is all really so overplayed. Like
with the big full moon in the background.
And it starts getting really campy and feeling like some weird old movie where it's like, darling.
Yeah.
You know, and everything's so dramatic. And you're like,
there might be something out there for us someday. I know you're dying now, but
right. So they're basically riding off into the sunset, and the sun is going down, and they arrive at the beach just as, you know, the moon's rising over the water.
Rising.
Yeah. He has quite the speech.
He's got tears running down his eyes.
Dolores dies.
There's paradise out there for us.
So yeah, and then so that all comes up, and then that whips around to like that actually all of a sudden the lights come on, the curtains come down or up,
and there's applause.
Yep. And that was the final presentation for the board.
I can't quit you.
The board is all seated, and they're watching this finale. You know, and it's basically like him playing out his narrative. Now, how much of that is actually from the narrative, and we went through that twice, and it doesn't show exactly where that loop connects and that loop cuts away, but the Man in Black is there at the party with a not broken arm.
Yes.
Right.
So yeah, his arm's broken. He was holding it stiff. But how did that relate to? I think part of this Dolores thing that Ford had sent her on was for William too. Mm-hmm. I think because that it goes straight from the Man in Black to the beach. Yeah, and that's what we're trying to get at, is like, I don't know where that transition begins and ends. Mm-hmm. And it's not jarring or anything, and it might have actually something to do with the plot. It does. I mean, these guys are clever. If you go back and watch the very first scene of season 1, it's completely out of time from everything else. Right. So
basically the curtains come up on this, everybody applauds, and then they go to the reception. Dolores goes to the repair shop, and with Teddy, they just clean him up and they have him circulating at the party like, you know, entertainment.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's shooting things off of people's heads, and like all the hosts are there. Mingling. And we have a quick little scene with Charlotte and Sizemore where they talk about the party, and she goes, "Don't you have something to do?"
And I was like, "What does he have to do, honey?"
What does he have to do? Yeah. And he had to go get Abernathy, which he uploaded all the information, all of Ford's information.
Yeah, that was out of my brain.
And he runs down there, real quick and goes down to level 82, and it's empty.
Oh,
But
where all the bodies were all
where all the
stacked in.
bodies were all, that army everybody's been waiting for was happening, but it wasn't really who we thought it was. So
the man in black sneaks around the back of the party to grab a smoke.
drink
And this
some
army
bourbon.
starts bursting through the bushes.
Yes.
They start coming at. Oh, they're coming at you.
They're coming at you. And he gets shot by Clementine and smiles. I mean, just a little graze. So we are getting Ed Harris in season 2, but that was the last time we see the man in black. And
so he gets a graze in the arm. It looked pretty painful. So he's suffering. So he's happy. He feels alive.
And then we have Ford giving a great speech, toasting himself and his narratives. And Dolores is walking around him. I don't know how nobody figured this out. This was a little obvious because, her intent was very Wyatt. She had her Wyatt face on. And he goes out like Arnold did. Now, I don't know if we mentioned, Arnold was killed by Dolores, but he killed himself. And
he basically programs her to do him out.
He programs her to eradicate everybody in the park, kill everybody, because he wanted to destroy the park. So that part of Ford's story was true. But he also wanted to kill himself because he was depressed and he wanted to join his son, but he was also a danger. His information was a danger. So she kills Arnold, and Dr. Ford decides to go out the same way. Why? Well, we get this speech at the end.
Path to the new world.
It's the path to the new world. And you could tell Ford was enamored by Arnold. Arnold was his hero, and he couldn't see what Arnold saw. I'm not saying this is right, but Ford kind of came around to Arnold's way of thinking, and he asked Dolores if, he kind of told her what's going on, and she, but he said, what I see, what Arnold didn't see is you guys need time. We're not ready for this yet. So yeah, you got to suffer a little more in this park, but you got to look at the big picture here. And
it's almost like Ford uses that narrative that Arnold put together, where it's like, you know what, maybe Arnold was right. Everything does need to be destroyed in the park. So he unearths that town.
Yep.
And he has it all play out just that same way, except the town being all shot up now is all the board members.
Yep.
Is all the board members. And instead of Arnold getting killed, it's him.
It's Dr. Ford. We didn't think Anthony Hopkins would make it. And I'm sure he'll be back in some kind of a voice way, but Anthony Hopkins is gone.
CGI young one.
God damn, he was great. He was freaking great. So he should win an Emmy for this. Absolutely. And through all this, we find out the one person or the one host that is, there's glitches in all of them. The one who truly has artificial intelligence now is Dolores. And the voice she was hearing in her head was her own.
The awareness.
And when I saw it, I'm like, duh. Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. It's her voice.
So that takes us through pretty much everything except for our predictions, which we should probably share with our...
We're going to bring in the guys to, that was an overview. We're going to get into some more meat of this. But, the last thing on Dolores is... I just had it in my head now and it's gone. So maybe the guys will bring it back. So I'm going to take a second here. You got to put a headphone in. Just put one little headphone in so we can talk to the guys.
Are we not going to be able to hear him this time?
We're going to be able to hear him in our headphones. That's why I'm wearing the headphones. So we invite people, and we're going to bring in, because I know Dennis has to work. We're going to bring them both in. Dennis is just going to be for a few minutes, and Emonic's going to be for the rest of the podcast. So
I feel like I'm trying to connect with my agent in the field right now.
Gmail. Now, if he hasn't set up GChat before, it must be.
Where's
this.
our iPad?
Oh, we're not doing Periscope tonight. And Dennis. All right, so we invite and we see who answers. With the Dolores thing, I don't know if she's the best leader because she has that Wyatt personality in there. So
Wyatt was a leader though.
But a bad one. I think Dolores is our villain.
One, just because he's evil. There's Dennis.
Hey. Hey, what's up, man?
I almost fell asleep.
Hey, what's going on?
You almost fell asleep, and there's Emo.
Hey, Emo.
And
hey, how's it going?
Doing all right, you?
You got your camera on, Emo?
I'm not too sure. Let me see here.
I don't think so.
Give me a second here.
Dennis, say something.
Say something.
Okay, the camera's working. See, it changes the cameras for you.
That's
Hi,
crazy.
we're live, everybody. So, hey, we're not some big operation. Obviously, we're the Nerdrotic podcast. We're kind of a guerrilla operation,
Sort of an after-school project.
an after school special.
Yes.
That's what we are. Just say no to drugs, kids, or you'll turn out like Gary.
God no.
God, no. You still there, Emo?
Yeah, I am. You can hear me, right?
I can hear
yeah,
you.
we can hear
Yeah, we
you.
just
I can't hear you. Can't see you.
Yeah, for
Can't
some
see
reason
you.
it's not activating.
He just
You
looks like a
go
little
to the
man.
go to the
We're not
settings.
as advanced as Westworld, so we're having technical difficulties on my end of the screen.
Go on the screen where it's got the little wheel that says settings on the top, where you see. Click on that and make sure your camera is set to that.
Yeah.
That's usually the problem.
Okay.
In the meantime, guys, we've just done an overview of the episode and kind of what we thought.
As best we could with all that switcheroo.
Yeah, there's a lot of switcheroo. Dennis, we're going to start with Dennis real quick because he picks up the most stuff. I don't know if you've been listening, Dennis, but
I haven't.
He was
I know. He was like, "That's great. That's
He's
great.
taking a
That makes
nap.
for good podcasting." If he hasn't been listening to the first half, so
No trophy for
and
you.
no trophy for you because we were going to actually ask you what you caught, what we didn't, but you have no idea because you weren't watching.
As usual.
What an asshole.
Okay, what was your high low for the episode, Dennis?
Oh my god.
Well, let's see. I called the Man in Black owning the company. Got that one at least. Let's see. I was 50-50 on Ford actually trying to help people. So, that one was actually, it helped the hosts. And then having the whole, remember we were talking about the cold storage people all coming back again as the army.
Just not Maeve's army.
Just not Maeve's army.
I was a
yeah.
little surprised by that one. Yeah.
I kind of figured that Maeve was gonna, had been going through the same program like Arnold had, Bernard, that he had woken up before.
Whose army is it?
It's Ford's army.
It's Ford's army, yeah.
Well, it's Dolores's army now.
Yeah. He's basically given it to her. She's finally fully awakened. She's the only one that's fully awakened. And William, he's finally gotten everything he asked for.
Yes,
Be
he might
careful
not like
what you
it.
wish for.
But
yeah,
I guess the question is William going to fight? I mean, this is the game he wanted, so he's going to now take them on. So does Ed Harris become the new kind of Dr. Ford, or what we perceive to Dr. Ford to be? It turns out Dr. Ford, I don't know if you want to call him a good guy, but he was definitely on the robot side. So,
you also got to remember Bernard says the exact same thing that Arnold says before Dolores shot him in the head. How would he know this if Ford was the one that made Bernard?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is definitely in my head too. Is I think Bernard's consciousness is in Bernard or Arnold's consciousness is Bernard, and I think they're gonna. I think Anthony Hopkins he has downloaded his consciousness but they kind of said that there isn't a consciousness to download. You know what I mean? You either are or you aren't, and your consciousness, it's an awareness you have of yourself. The triangle of consciousness.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not, I don't know if it's something like you can put a USB in your head and freaking download it.
It's not Johnny Mnemonic.
Or do you think Bernard is so much like Arnold that he just becomes he becomes a version of Arnold?
I don't think Arnold ever existed as a real person. I think Arnold's always been a host.
Okay.
And the other thing I was noticing was the similarities of people coming into Westworld on the train. On the monorail car, that Maeve was getting on, and how the people actually enter Westworld, the Old West version on board the train. And I'm starting to think that this Westworld that we're seeing has a lot more fakery to it than we know. I guess you could say it's not as real as we think it is.
Well, we're gonna get Emo in, but before the episode started, remember what I said? I said, well, before he died, I said Ford's the only real person. He's like the last person alive, and he just made this whole thing.
Well, no, Felix is too.
Himself. Well, I know. Well, no. That was my theory before Ford died, and I realized that there were real people. But we only know he's real from another robot. We don't know. I mean, that's the thing is we don't know who's real. I don't. Ford could have been a host. He could still be a host. That's mine and Emo's. That's what the Emo theory was going on.
Or
Emo,
even if you were real at one point, you could be a host now, like Arnold/Bernard.
yeah,
Emo had his microphone muted there for a minute there.
He did.
Yeah.
Emo, we can't hear you. Unmute your microphone.
How do you know he's muted?
I saw the little
You
microphone.
can see the
mute thing on
microphone
his-
mute thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's muted.
He's playing with it now. He's going back and forth, back and forth.
Back and forth. Here, just click on your microphone, Emo.
He's probably
And
getting.
then
Click and
say
talk.
something.
Talk.
Click and talk. Now
Now it says it's muted.
I need to
Now it
text
says
him
unmuted.
instructions. So, Dennis,
Yes.
what was your favorite part of the episode?
That's a good one. Well, I did like the whole where William finishes out. He's telling Dolores that he just basically got tired of her.
Yeah, that narration was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
That would be your favorite scene.
It was it was just kind of depressing in a way, but also at the same time, you kind of got where he was going with it. It's like you're playing a video game over and over and over again.
Yep.
And you just don't care about the characters at this point, and you're just going through it to get to the save point.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, that's the time to buy a new video game.
Yeah.
You know? But unfortunately, that's what he based his whole life on. It's really a effed up story. So, do you think they're going to do any more? I mean, is Jimmy Simpson out, or do you think they're going to still do flashbacks to fill in stuff?
Well, we don't know really what happened to Logan.
No, we don't know what happened to Logan, and I think that I was talking to Melissa out in the stoop on our balcony about that. And wouldn't it be awesome because Logan's character is based on James Brolin's character from the movie, and if you got James Brolin to play older Logan, I think that'd be cool. I don't know.
Yeah, that was
Interesting.
confusing because I thought we would see him at the gathering of the board because I thought he would still be on the board, even though that Williams is the majority shareholder. It's like, it was Logan's dad that was the original investor. It sounds like, right? So I thought he would be there as one of those shareholders.
Yeah, and he made the comment like your dad's not I mean, he just cocked him all the way. He's like, your dad's gonna not, you're and he is reckless. He was totally reckless. He was just a little part. I mean, he's your typical billionaire's kid. So he just took it from him. I'm gonna I'm gonna text Emo some instructions here. But really quick, I also really I love that escape scene. I thought that was really freaking cool. But did the Man in Black seem? How are your feelings about him after the reveal? Even though we knew it, but we know it for sure. How do we feel? I mean, he's still a villain, or do we understand him, or is he just a completely fucked up person?
He's a monster.
He's a monster. Yeah, he really is a monster. And
why do I like him?
It's like, when Logan was saying he goes to the park, you go to the park to really find yourself. And he found out that he was like this jaded, murderer.
Yeah.
And he enjoyed it. He got a taste for it. He even says it in his own narration. I think he's
he's a
out really
sociopath.
clearly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And and that, and also we don't know who wrote Maeve's escape plan scenario, because Bernard never said who wrote it. She broke the tablet before we got a chance to find out who wrote her escape plan narrative.
Yes. No accident.
Yeah, and then also who shut down the park.
Well, my prediction is Maeve wrote her own escape plan. I mean, she does get her hands on that iPad a few times. And I think that she did it. And I think that's part of the whole thing where Bernard was like, this isn't the first time, you've woke me up, or
Yeah, he says it's not the first time you've awoken yourself.
Yes.
And he was going through the escape plan and telling her exactly what she was going to do, and she got pissed off and broke the tablet because he was just about to tell her.
That was her very human denial moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that's her realizing that she did it. It's like Dolores, what's the voice Dolores is hearing? It's her own voice.
Yeah.
So who's writing Maeve's program? Like, she's waking up and she's writing her own program.
She might be. Yeah, that's a definite possibility. What did you also noticed something when in the very beginning of the episode when Dolores wakes up, Bernard says something. It might be just a slip of the tongue. It might have been a weird editing thing, but he definitely says, because we went back and watched it twice.
Instead of saying like welcome to like the park or wherever, he goes welcome to world.
He says welcome to world, not the world,
not
the park,
Westworld,
not to life. Welcome to world. I thought that was weird. It's just, I mean, again, it could be an editing thing. And, I am known to look way too into things, hence Game of Thrones and Lost and all that other shit.
Well, some stuff it is what it is, but I thought that seemed kind of purposeful.
Oh, it did. I mean, this is one of the writers of Inception here. So, and it's also, well, God, it's the writer of Inception with the creator of Lost. So there's great potential to be very angry at the end of this. I mean, let's not pretend that could not happen. Okay.
Right. But we'll say season 1 was a success and the finale was really cool.
Season 1 of Westworld was a definite success.
He also did Person of Interest as well. So I look at it this way. I don't think J.J. Abrams has as much input into it. He's just the producer.
We saw him for the first time on the interviews tonight.
Yeah.
So I think that was a good thing. Don't know anything about Person of Interest, but I like Nolan. I like Chris Nolan because of this. I mean, the episode ended great. It ended perfect. I'm glad we didn't see the massacre. I mean, that's something we don't need to see. I know we'll jump in the aftermath, or we might do a time jump, but we're definitely getting Ed Harris next year. I don't know much more than that, and that's good. But I do know
Anthony Hopkins was only going to be season 1 only.
Yeah, we called that. Yeah. I do know it's not gonna be like out the same time next year. It's gonna take a little time. It's gonna be like maybe a year and a half in between. Yeah. But it's worth it. I mean, it was very cinematic. But it has a ton of loose ends. Like we didn't catch what happened to Baby Hemsworth, Thor's little brother. He got tackled by an Indian last episode. We didn't see him. I still think he's a host.
The Ghost Nation.
Elsie could pop back up. We don't know. Bernard, we never saw him make the kill move.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, some time has passed, so I don't know. Were they locked up somewhere? And I don't know where they go from here. I truly, are they going to just play the game? They're going to have to, because they're completely outnumbered right now. And I
think this is Ford's new narrative, actually, is mayhem in the park.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Anything goes, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was the name of it?
Reinvite.
We're going to reinvite Emo. What was the name of his new narrative? It was
Journey into Night.
Yeah.
Journey into Night. Journey into Darkness. There you go.
Journey into
All right. Bring an Emo back. Damn it. Oh, wait. Emonic 1.
At Gmail.
But yeah, no, and that whole thing with Teddy, Teddy, I think finally coming around, he was basically skipping all of his usual stop points and just killing everything that was going through, just anything that was going to distract him from getting to Dolores. He would shoot, get rid of it, keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the love between them is becoming real. Although Teddy's not quite there yet, I think that is a real love, and I think that's the only thing that's tethering him to realness, or whatever we want to call it.
I think that was
and the only reason she's watching the show, smoochy lips on Teddy.
Lips. No, but I was going to say, I think that whole thing where all of a sudden, like, Teddy's fast tracking is because Ford needed him to do that to get to his grand ending.
Yeah.
He needed that. He needed that for the presentation. So that was part of the programming that he put in there.
And we've only seen the beginning of what Ford did tonight is the tip of the iceberg. I mean, what his plan is going to play out over the next 4 seasons. I mean, Anthony Hopkins, I'm sure, will be back in some way, shape, or form.
Well, I think he thought that would end it. Just like how Arnold thought that would end it.
Yeah, and it's not going to.
And it's not going to.
No.
Actually, I changed my mind. My favorite part of the of the episode is actually Dolores talking to William when she's beating the crap out of him in the church. talking to him about, you're a dinosaur. You're basically, when your kind has come and gone and you're nothing but dust, what's going to be trotted over that dust is something that doesn't exist yet.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
whole
that's interesting.
speech. Yeah.
So they're not even saying they're the next thing. They're
Yeah.
like, the next thing is going to be, I don't know, total consciousness. I hope it's not like super intelligent shades of the color blue or something like that. I wanted
What?
super intelligent shades of the color blue. Hitchhiker reference. Sorry.
I was like, is that a band?
No, it should be though. I don't know. See, I'm just a regular guy. My favorite scene is when a naked girl's biting guys' fingers off and shit. No, when she fires the gun and goes, it fires bullets over and over again. That's
Did you stay to the end of the credits too and see?
yeah,
what
I saw
happened
the
to her?
stinger. Did I stay to the end of Chris? No, I didn't walk out of my house, Dennis. And go and drive home.
Well, I don't know if we turned it off at the credits.
No. We loop it. And we watch all that crap. Yeah, that was cool that there was a stinger, and she cuts her own arm off, and she just
she still has a knife in her arm, in her hand, and I like that we saw the Japanese samurais too. So
well, he said that's complicated. I love that answer, but they have feudalist Japan world, or not Japan, China, and then
no, it's Japan.
Was it Japan? Okay, so that was to take place of medieval world, which was in the other one. So is there a Roman world, and could they bring the original cast of Rome back, like we talked about?
Well, see, that's why I was like, in that very opening scene when he says, "Welcome to World." It's like maybe all of the things aren't going to be Westworld. There's always that possibility too. It could be like True Detective. Like we could come back, and instead of being like, Westworld, we could actually have those same characters playing out their parts.
Damn it, I hit the camera.
What's wrong with it?
I hit it accidentally. There was nothing wrong with it. But now, okay.
There we go. Don't touch it.
I really don't see how they're going to fit the samurai into Westworld.
I bet you he's still playing his video game. If he's still playing his video game, he's in trouble. Okay, good. You better not be. Okay, Dennis, I'm going to let you go because we're going to try to get a hold of Emo one time, and you need to go to bed. So maybe you can watch the first part of this podcast before you go to sleep, jackass.
Nah, that's
all right.
Okay.
Good night, Dennis. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, buddy.
Night.
Night. I'm going to inject you now. Inject it. Jackass. Okay, so we're going to try to call Emo one more time. I'm going to give it one more shot here. And if not, we're going to
Does he know we're calling him?
Yeah, I text him. I know he's got like a Comic-Con to go to or got back from or something like that. And, let's try it one more time. If not, we're going to do the phone thing.
Oh, living that artist lifestyle.
Oh, I know. It's so hard. Waking up at the crack of 2 in the afternoon and being talented. All these people going, you're so amazing. You're so all day. It must just get terrible.
It never gets old.
No. And the other thing is the guy's got these amazing genes. He looks like he's 25 and he's actually like 57.
Wouldn't it be funny if he was 57?
He's 40. He's 40. I don't want to say his age. He's 25. That's what he is. Okay, so I tried to invite you. So I'm gonna call this fool. Okay, going to call.
How do you just call?
Okay, I'm just gonna fucking call him. All right.
What's the worst that could happen? He won't pick up.
Yeah, so we're gonna call Emo. And there we go.
I want to hear what his favorite part was.
I do too. We can take these out. We don't need them anymore.
I like feeling like I have my agent in the field.
Maybe his phone died. Maybe he's just not feeling it right now. Well, we'll do a wrap-up podcast with Emo. I'll probably go down there and we'll talk about all the things we missed. So let's wrap this one up then. Melissa, give me some predictions for next year.
For some predictions. I thought that what Dennis said was pretty interesting, where we're going to find out that Arnold was never human. He was always part of a creation. but that conflicts with my theory that, you know, that this was all kind of playing out, but it could be a loop because of Ford putting himself in that same situation where he gets killed. Dolores is going to come back and she's going to be Wyatt, right? Because she's got the Wyattness to her now. And Maeve is going to be on the hunt for her daughter, or what that daughter is now. And the thing that makes that kind of interesting is because when you have the man in black searching for Dolores, and part of what makes him so jaded is he realizes that Dolores isn't looking for him because she gets wiped every single time. So what happens when she goes looking for her daughter and her daughter's wiped but doesn't remember her because she's so far away from consciousness because she hasn't been being recreated and reborn and gone through a glitchy phase. Like she's going to be so far behind her. Like that will be probably very disheartening.
Yeah, and where does she think the end game is? Like, you don't think an army is going to descend on this place now? They just killed an entire board full of people. You can't keep that one quiet.
No.
So the park, I don't know how they keep the park open, and I don't know how they just don't bomb the crap out of it. So something
Quarantine.
That's interesting. They could call it a quarantine, and that's kind of.
Don't they do that in Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's not forget that's what he wanted to do for that movie, and they didn't have the budget, so he made Westworld, Michael Crichton being him. And yeah, I mean, I guess they could go the same route. It's really interesting how it is a copy of each story is a copy of each other, but they're still interesting. It doesn't matter.
It's the loop.
It's the loop. It's the loop.
Your predictions?
My predictions are they're going to play a lot more with this. We're obviously seeing stuff from the host perspective. So we're not getting everything in time, and they prove that now. And now that I don't know if they're going to play with it as much, but they're going to mess with your mind on this one. It's a really easy trick. Basically, it's kind of like time travel to do these tricks in writing. It's called non-linear, but it's also a way of it's kind of like a house of mirrors. It's a way of kind of getting around writing too much so you make something look super complicated, and what you do is you just jump time and have different perspective. Like why Pulp Fiction was always looked like such a work of genius it's just 4 little stories done in different order. That's all it is. It's a pretty basic story. Other than that, it was really well done. But it's not it's not classic good writing. So I hope they don't get into Lost and Inception land where they just get too much and then we don't know what the fuck's going on and Leonardo DiCaprio spins the top and we're supposed to know what the hell that means.
Well, it's sort of like spinning a web of lies. Like you have to tell a lie to cover a lie
Exactly.
to cover a lie, and pretty soon you're gonna get found out. So it's like once they've told that 6th lie, then it makes the second one totally obsolete, and that's how it starts getting into that ringer of being Lost.
So
too many conflicts.
My prediction will
there is
be
no truth.
Ed Harris keeps the place go. Ed Harris, the Man in Black, keeps the place going because he's one of the most powerful men on the planet, the most powerful company, and he owns the park, so he has the power to squash this stuff, make it look like it was all Dr. Ford's fault.
Gas leak.
Yeah, it was a gas leak. It was a weapons test. No, it's all Dr. Ford's fault. He was a homicidal maniac. We're going to dial all of them back because Westworld, they mentioned in this episode that this place is blown up. It's become huge. It's become too important, too big to fail.
Right.
So it gets a government bailout and yeah. Oh, look, we got him on it.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just my system.
Hey, I can hear you. Yeah, put your headphones on. Put your headphones on. We got him. What's up, baby?
Hey, what's going on?
How's it going? We don't need to see it. It's okay. Let's just stick with what we got now.
It works right now. Yeah,
it works right now. So we were just wrapping up, but I want to know, what don't. Here, look at that. See, Pat head. You happy? Okay. You like this color though?
Yeah, works out.
Some really good hairdressers. Really kind of hot.
Perfect Constantine setup.
You like that? Yes.
Yeah.
Next year.
We need your high-low emo.
Yeah. What's your high point, low point of the episode?
Let's see here. Obviously, let's go ahead and the low point is Anthony Hopkins taking himself out like he did. I wasn't expecting him to do that. I did have the feeling at some point that the coup de grace was going to happen with, the whole takeover. I mean, there were precursors to it in the previous episodes, but you kind of started seeing how everything was coming together with this episode. And then again, as we talked about in the last podcast, that whole army that was down there, the surplus that was used, we saw that happen. And so that was actually pretty cool to actually see them do the whole revolt thing. It reminded me of a Game of Thrones. I thought it was going to kind of...
Oh, shit.
What'd you do?
Hang on.
Why are you
Keep
messing
going.
with everything.
Keep going. You're there.
Yeah, you turned him off.
No, I didn't. It's supposed to turn his camera off. Shit. Hang on, buddy. Present to everyone. I'm going to have to call him back. My bad. Okay. Well, I didn't want... Okay, this is our only video, and I didn't want his camera being up there. Don't... Hey, I'm going to call him back. Hey, this is how we learn, ladies and gentlemen. This is how we learn.
You're calling Dennis.
Okay, I know.
Okay,
Thanks for telling everybody. There he is. Okay, I got you.
cool.
Okay, continue.
Okay, where did you hear me, or where did I leave off at?
Okay, just start from the top again.
You were talking about the Game of Thrones and how the
So
army surplus was coming on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought that whole, the whole coup thing that was going to happen, I thought it was going to be kind of reminiscent of what we saw with Game of Thrones with the bloody wedding, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but it didn't end up being that bad. I mean, we saw people getting taken out. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm not fiddling with it. This is how I do this. Stop messing with me. Sorry, Emo. She's trying to. She's all of a sudden a podcast expert. She's done 3. Okay. Okay, go on.
This little space and the moving hands and things are falling.
So one of the other things, before I forget, you guys keep me laughing. I didn't think she was gonna get off. I didn't think Maeve was gonna get off the train. Did you?
Yeah.
You did think she was gonna get off the train.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't think. I knew that. Like, for some reason, I figured she's gonna get stuck by someone, or she's gonna come to a realization that she's not able to leave yet. Because she saw it in her programming, and they're going through iterations of learning, and she comes to that realization that she needs to take a stand and start becoming the person that she's supposed to be, not what the coding's been setting her up to be, right?
Right, but you know what? If she had no intention of considering getting off the train and looking for her, she would have crumpled up the paper. It was just a piece of paper.
Right.
Yeah.
But the fact that she held on to it and kept looking back at it, you know that she was giving that some serious thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, if a feeling is injected in you and it's fake, you still feel it. And I think there was more than just when she was staring at the woman and her daughter in the train. I think there was way more than it's just reminding her of her daughter. I think she was also seeing like, oh, they're not all bad out here, because she was going to go out on a search and destroy mission.
Right.
I mean, what are you going to do? Become a part of this world? And I think you touched on something very interesting there. Is I don't know if there's a park to leave. I don't know if they, I think they wanted to insinuate there's something out there, but I'm still thinking that this could be a mass simulation, or like this Ford was. If I knock something over, I'll knock it over. It's okay. Stop. It's like if you keep my hands from moving, it's like covering my mouth.
This is real.
I need them both to talk. I am half Italian.
Did you catch me take the pen out of his hand because I was going to put my eye out?
I'm going to stab her in the eye with it.
You know what? Other people that are watching this, other married couples, they're going to totally relate to what's going on right now. So
anyway.
This is her trying to tell me how to drive. She's backseat driving right now. That was your exit, dummy.
I would never do that.
No. So where was I? I think, yeah, I think we're gonna get we're gonna get mind fucked on this one so hard. I don't think it's gonna be at the end of the series. I don't think it's gonna be all and the robots and the humans lived happily ever after. I just don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah. One of the things I was thinking about, because I have my notes, I'm kind of going through them here,
Good.
prefacing them. And Bernard mentions, within the first scene that the town was buried and it was dug up again. And my thinking was, it's a cycle, but for how long? How many iterations has this gone through? And with each of the iterations, what have the hosts learned? There's the one host that Ford talks to and has a drink with. I'm wondering if he's kind of a key player that's hasn't really been shown all of his cards yet. Like, he doesn't function correctly, but I'm wondering if he has some information that's pertinent to
the one that looks like the old animatronics guy from Pirates of the Caribbean.
The one who was the bad guy in The Crow.
Exactly.
I absolutely think that, and I think there's a lot to his little here's to the woman in the white shoes.
Right.
I saw one guy on Reddit who kind of related that being a kind of a foreshadowing of Wyatt.
Right.
And it was, her. I think that's kind of a stretch, but yeah, it's there.
Right.
And Ford had a lot of talks with him, so I think you're right. I think he plays for one, that's a pretty big time actor. I mean, it's not some like scrub.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Exactly.
I think they're going to bring him back.
Like a little cameo.
That'll be interesting. I hope they bring him back. I like that guy. So
I was also thinking, also for Logan, we finally it was finally explained that we are looking at two different timelines, and that we have been watching things kind of evolve. And as William kind of his character evolves, and we watch what's going on, and Logan obviously is he's a piece of crap, obviously.
He's a douche.
Frat boy.
And I think the Westworld experience allowed for William to kind of evolve and kind of become something where he wasn't very important in the eyes of the company, or even Logan's dad working for the company. And this allowed him to go ahead and kind of spread his wings and kind of become the man that he wanted. And he realized that. I kind of love that whole scene when he realizes how powerful he actually is.
Yeah.
And Logan realizes it too, that because he's probably belittled him for years and kind of held that over his head. And at the same time, he's going to be marrying his sister. And so he's probably felt, William's always felt kind of like indebted to the family. Now he's going to become his own man, and so it was kind of nice. That was a nice scene to see,
Yeah. Do you think William and Logan were a team building exercise by Dad? Do you think,
You know what?
Westworld.
That's a really good point.
Bonding.
Yeah, why not? Companies tend to do certain experiments like that with, putting somebody in a situation, see how they're going to act and play out with certain, it really says something about somebody of how they control their emotion and how they command themselves, especially during
times
stresses like that,
If I ever own a big corporation, I'm gonna make everybody do a zombie marathon.
So run a marathon dressed as a zombie?
Chased by zombies, like the one in at Comic-Con they used to do until that girl got killed.
Another thing I was thinking about too was we'd see Teddy ride the train for the last time, wake up, and the whole scene kind of plays out a lot differently. Now he has a flashback, and we see bodies, and in the distance he sees Dolores, and then we see a dog or a wolf kind of pass over. And I'm thinking, does that mean that Teddy is going to be a lone wolf? Is that a metaphor? Does that mean that Teddy is now going to go through an iteration, knowing what we know now at the end of this episode, that he's going to be able to make things and decisions for himself? And
or maybe they just had money in the budget for a wolf.
No,
and they thought it would look cool.
They I think that's what a lot of people think when they see stuff like that. But no, they actually they're like, we need a wolf in this scene because there's probably some writing thing where if you have a wolf run through a scene, it means this, or some ancient.
Did you Google
it? It's everything written in Hollywood today is steeped in mythology. Okay,
it's the unicorn. It's Blade Runner.
Basically, it might be. Pointed out.
There was a lot of references to Blade Runner that I saw in this one.
This is a prequel to Blade Runner.
Yeah, like Nexus 6, Maeve is basically Roy Batty. Amethyst is basically Zora.
And she's Pris. I saw her as Pris, man.
Pris?
Yeah.
Well, the reason I say that she's like Zora is because she's got the snake. And Zora dealt with the snake.
That's right. There's so much homage going on
Right,
that
exactly.
it might be connected. It might be in that same world. That'd be awesome if Rick Deckard showed up and they didn't do the sequel that they're going to talk about. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Melissa picked out some mythology, I think, by accident.
Oh, okay.
She was talking about the
Couldn't
maze,
be on purpose.
and the maze was called. What's the name of the maze again?
Pigs and clover.
Pigs and clover. And the pigs, as long as they eat all the clover they want, they're kind of complacent. And it reminds me of the land of the lotus eaters. From the Greek mythology, like they're all eating the flower and they're just like happy. It kind of, I always found that reminded me of my hometown, San Diego. It's kind of the land of the lotus eaters. There's not a ton of ambition there because the weather's so nice. Everybody's happy. So that has something that the maze might be a trap, or, well, I don't know. It's kind of what the hosts are in right now is we wipe their memories. That's their clover.
Right.
Ford has always thought he was doing them a favor. He was taking this. Ford does not deal with pain very well, hence making an entire world of robots and not liking people very well. So his dad obviously diddled him or did something. We're going to find out what happened to young Ford, and it probably wasn't good.
Well, going back to the point that I forgot to talk about because I got a little excited, of course, about the references because I got a whole bunch in here. But who do you guys think the grave marker is? Do you think it's Arnold or do you think it's Arnold's son?
I thought it said Dolores' name on it.
Did it?
It says Dolores Abernathy.
Okay, I didn't catch that.
But that's what she sees.
Right.
That's another thing they're going to play with is they only see what they're supposed to see.
Right.
So, I mean, Dolores might be the one person we can trust her vision, but not anything else. Yeah, they're going to be able to screw with us.
But one of the things you were talking about too, Emo, when you were talking about Maeve, it's like, remember that she asked to have those bad memories wiped. Like, let's not forget that. She wanted to have those bad memories wiped, and Bernard was like, you aren't anything if you just have your good memories. Like, you can't just have those because the bad things are what really shapes us. Like, those mistakes are what really shapes us so much more than, I'm paraphrasing.
That's one way of looking. No, that's one way of looking at it. But you're right. That's what Dr. Ford said. Arnold discovered it was the pain that defines us. Right. So yeah. So if you took him out, she would just be a robot again. She would just be nothing.
Right. I felt
she doesn't learn any lessons.
Yeah.
But we don't know. Well, I was going to say there's been 6 versions of her. What have the other versions learned prior to her? The version that we're looking at now. I was kind of curious about that.
That also brings something else up that I thought of is I still think there's a possibility there's more than one copy of these people running around too at one time during the same timeline. It was very interesting that they remade Maeve from scratch and her consciousness stayed intact, completely intact.
Right.
So where do they store it?
On the iPad.
On the iPad. So yeah, I mean, like that's.
So they backed it up
so their consciousness has to. Yeah, I know they got a little USB there. So there must be a computer or something that stores everybody's consciousness. We never answered. Okay, things not answered. We don't know what happened at Baby Hemsworth.
That's a really long list.
It is a long list. We don't know what happened to Baby Hemsworth. We don't know what happened to Elsie. We don't know how Dr. Ford can control them with his mind. Like, he was stopping people with his mind. So they don't put in things by accident. A little detail that I missed that I saw on Reddit was when Sizemore brought out his narrative and then Ford kind of kiboshed it. When Teresa was visiting Ford and you saw all the hosts that were being like slaves that were out there working, it was all the characters from Sizemore's narrative that Ford had out there digging dirt for his new narrative.
Were they even close enough to see that?
Yeah, it was. Somebody put it up on Reddit and put the 2 pictures. So Ford, I mean, that's Ford fucking with Sizemore, and I don't know how many people would have even caught that on the show. So if they're thinking that minuscule of a detail, which is cool,
Right.
They are thinking this thing through. I mean, which is good. But I didn't catch it.
Well, look at how much time we spent thinking about it, and we're not even writing it.
We're not even writing it. We get nothing out of this other than pure enjoyment. I mean, we do get
the
something.
extension of the world, though, the samurai world thing. What did you guys think about that? Like, I thought it was a cool idea, but I just don't want them to get too stupid with it.
No, I think that's why they said it's complicated. I think that's how they answered. I think
So
they
you
just
think
threw
that
that out as that was an Easter egg.
I feel like you open one room, it's like this is samurai world, and then there's another room, and this is like I don't know, whatever else, some type of goofy type of.
Did you see the original movie?
You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. You've only segmented it, and it's been so long.
Everyone needs to come over for a TV party.
Yes,
we can watch it.
We should review it. Well, in the movie,
That'd be a good
there's
thing to
medieval
do.
world and Roman world.
See, and I knew that there were other worlds, but I couldn't remember how pertinent they were to the central of the story. I thought they were just side things, and
They were.
yeah,
And they weren't important.
right.
And I agree with you. I don't want them. This is called Westworld. It's not called Samurai World. It's not called Rome World. But I still want them to bring the entire original cast of Rome back to do Rome World just for a scene. I think that'd be awesome.
Well, I was laughing because Nicole, we're watching it. She goes, you know what? They're gonna walk into another door, and there we are, Game of Thrones. We're back, and that's how they're gonna open up the next season.
Yeah, I know. We're back.
Should I put that under your predictions?
Yes.
Here's one of my predictions based on what they've talked about through.
Yeah. Give us your predictions before we go.
So I'm guessing man is dying basically, and
Who's dying?
man is dying, the human race.
Yes.
And basically Ford knows this and has been preparing for this. And I think that, he was talking about it in other discussions that, man's destroyed a lot of the animals and a lot of the environment, and there's a lot more to it. And then he talks about God, and he brings up that painting and showing that, the Oppenheimer, quote that he ends up saying about it takes about 10 years in order to find something. And he goes, and then it took X amount of years in order to realize that this painting, this section of God is actually the human brain, and I'm thinking as I'm watching this is that basically he's kind of setting up the whole thing as he's kind of playing God, and he's going to be setting these androids up to be the next iteration of the human race, because unfortunately, we're not able to sustain ourselves. I love that. You guys should just do that while I talk all the time. But yeah, I'm thinking that the human race is dying, and basically these androids are being groomed in order to be the next race that's going to kind of take the next.
I love that idea.
Thing.
These
are his beliefs, and he's so conflicted with he's been so conflicted with it that he realized that he needed to remove himself from the equation for them to evolve.
Ooh, I like that.
That is really good. You just ruined the show. That's it. I'm not watching anymore. I think
here's something a little off kilter though. How much were you thinking of the Truman Show during that last scene when they're all at the sea? You're watching the moon, you're watching the water, and I'm just thinking, this is Truman Show.
Totally.
To Ed Harris's Truman Show. Yeah.
Well, this is everything about artificial the future of robots, of reality TV or voyeurism. I mean, it's pretty much every bad habit the human nature has is going to be exploited in the show.
Yeah.
And I'll take your theory and I'll add one thing. Maybe that could be just a twist or stupid. I don't know. However people look at it. Ford, remember that the humans have gotten soft. They're kind of like they are an Idiocracy, or what was the Pixar movie with the robot where they're all just a bunch
I
of
didn't see that.
fat people sitting in couches and being rolled around everywhere. And
Right.
maybe he invented the host to be the enemy, to give them something to fight for. Maybe,
Mhm.
you know, I don't think he liked humans that much, to be honest with you. I think,
And you know what? Right in tune with that is the definition of the pigs in clover. Because
Yeah.
the pigs in clover, it's extremely contentedly. So it's basically like pigs being allowed to eat as much as they want. It's basically like that overindulgence.
Right.
You
And they're
know?
not even flinching about certain things, you know.
Of
They're-
whatever their favorite thing
Yeah.
is, just to be gluttonous about it.
This episode obviously killed my last prediction from our last podcast about Charlotte being in cahoots with Ford.
yeah,
When you totally realize that she's set on his side and who she represents. I was hoping it was going to be kind of a little bit of the other way around, but I like it this way too. I think it's great. I didn't think that they're going to take out Ford the way that he did, or him take himself out of the equation. But I don't think it's the last that we're going to see of him, quite honestly.
oh God, no. I think Dennis and I were talking earlier about, and you were here too. Sorry, honey. About
Don't
he
mind
probably
me.
down.
It's nice that he includes you.
So nice.
I don't know, like the way they talk about consciousness. I don't know if they could download consciousness, but a form of his personality will be in somebody's head or somewhere at some point.
Right.
Well, don't forget he's controlling with his mind. So his
Yeah.
mind is connected at somehow. So
And he says he built every inch of this park over and over again, but then he keeps talking about stuff Arnold built. So Dennis thinks Arnold's never been real. Like Bernard has never been real.
it's always been Ford.
It's always been
Oh.
Ford. And I think that's interesting. I think we'll see more of young Ford for sure.
He's basically Hal that's evolved.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, there's so many ways they can go with that. I don't think it's going to be purgatory. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be purgatory.
No, I hope not either. There was a one line when Dolores is kind of she vocalizes that, and she's like, how many times is this being played out? And I can't tell, you know, what's real and whatnot. And I do hope it's not a purgatory thing. I hope that, I mean, I understand why they would do it now. Better that they do it now and not later in the episodes, kind of move past that part, you know, so that we can actually see these hosts evolve and start to kind of choose their sides on how they're going to evolve. Basically, what we're looking at is a new America. They got a whole new area of land. You know, people are coming in. They're going to fight for their sides, choose their own groups. And we'll see who, you know, kind of tethers up to who. I'm kind of interested on how Teddy is going to be in all of this now, how the new structure is going to be. Where-
Teddy's the
Because
moral
he's-
barometer, believe
Yeah.
it or not.
Yeah.
And also, go back a couple episodes in the scenes where Charlotte is talking to Sizemore in his office, and there is a map of Westworld behind her. And it's round like a planet.
Yeah.
One of our friends thinks Westworld's a planet. They didn't show us what time it was,
Right.
where they were.
So that train is actually what, like a shuttle?
Maybe there is no train. Maybe they're just shipping them. Dennis and I talked about this 2 podcasts. They haven't shown us shit. We
Yeah.
don't know jack squat about this show. I mean,
You know what? I'm actually okay with that.
totally.
I am okay if we never figure out what time period we're in. We know
That'd be awesome. Yeah, that's not important.
that we're well past what we expect it to be, but I'm okay if we don't know. If they keep us guessing, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You know? It's kind of the fascination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or maybe if you did know, it wouldn't be quite as good.
Yeah, if you saw the shark all the time, Jaws wouldn't have been as good. That's for sure.
I was thinking a lot of THX too.
Yeah.
1138, and instead of her, instead of her having to get to the top and get out, she's going down to the bottom and then onto a train. And I thought at some point in time she's gonna have to like get out through a hatch or something, and then we're gonna be in this whole new thing, this whole new world. But then when it didn't happen, I was kind of glad because I just don't want to see that yet.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. There was a lot of reveals and a lot of things that happened, but it doesn't really give you any glimpse
No.
into what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was looking at the people on the train too for like little indications. I don't know if you guys were like that too, but like something that because those are all just real people, so maybe there'd be some type of hint there, but there wasn't.
No, they kept it really closed off. It was very cool. I love how they ended it. We don't know who died. We didn't see Charlotte die. We didn't see Ed Harris's character die. We saw Dr. Ford died, and that was it. And we saw a couple of guests get shot, but
they were random.
No main character. We know Sizemore is gonna survive because he was down there, and we need Sizemore. I love that guy. He's so funny.
Remember though, there's like major security breach happening, so where he's gonna go is like, you know.
How do you guys feel about the new narrator now? No, he's not the new narrator, but the guy that's struggling to become the main narrator.
Sizemore. I think he's funny.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's good for comedy relief.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Other than he's just he's like a normal little Hollywood douchebag.
Right.
I think he survives though. He's the kind of guy who's always going to survive. You know, especially in Crichton movie. Crichton movie always has the little shit, although he does get eaten by the dinosaur. So maybe he gets eaten by a dinosaur. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that he'll probably make it. My prediction is he makes it maybe halfway through the next season, and he's
and
he's going to be really funny and really over the top, you know, sort of like that, you know, with that accent and everything. And his stories are really extravagant and really super indulgent. And
here's my prediction on him. I think one of his own narrations are going to take him out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, he has the potential to evolve. I'm not kidding. Like a Wesley, an Angel. He has the potential to evolve into a good character. You know, so let's say I don't even know. I'm very interested to see how they mop up this mess from the end, because they really ended it. The rumor mill was that they were only going to do like this was going to be like a mini series, like they were going to do one season, and that was it. And then that changed halfway through, and a lot of the rumors were that they were having problems, but it turned out Melissa found out that they actually love the show so much. They're like, no, let's do this right. Let's wait. The filming was done a year ago. Like this should have been out a year ago. This should have been out. Yeah, that's how old this is. So it's really interesting, and it was really, really good. And we will do other podcasts as we hear news. We'll do a
podcast on the original movie.
Yes, we'll do a podcast on the original movie, and we'll do a couple more before, you know, who knows when the next season starts. And but it's getting late, Emo. So
let's wrap this up.
It's not for you and your artist lifestyle, but
some of us it's a school night.
Yes.
I have a teacher. I understand.
There you go.
It's been fun, guys.
It's been awesome, Emo. I'm glad we got you on, and I will talk to you soon.
Hopefully we'll see you soon.
All the best. Take care.
Take care, my man. Okay, now I'm going to eject him. Sorry, buddy. I'm ejecting you. Okay. Melissa, it's over. We had so much fun doing this.
Mm-hmm.
It was lots of fun.
It was pretty fun.
I got to wear my bowler hat. I got married in this. I got this at the same shop Willie Brown and Winston Churchill bought their hats in London.
And P. Diddy.
And P. Diddy. Can't forget the P. Diddy. It's made out of real horsehair. Sorry, horsey. But it's a fun hat. I like to wear it. So thanks, everybody, for watching. We are not over by any means. We do lots of podcasts. There's still one more Ash vs. Evil Dead. John and I are doing a Game of Thrones podcast very, very soon. There's lots of Game of Thrones news. I will be back for Doctor Who at the Christmas special. And we still have Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, and Legends of Tomorrow going on. And there is a Star Wars movie coming out. So and there's also a Guardians of the Galaxy trailer that dropped yesterday that John and I will be podcasting about. So you can find all of our podcasts and videos at www.nerdrotic.com. My Twitter is @Nerdrotics. Our YouTube channel is the Nerdrotic channel. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/the Nerdrotic podcast. We have a contest going on where we're giving away 3 Comic Outpost variants and a signed Derek Robertson Happy #1 comic. You have to comment on one of those places and you get some extras if you subscribe to our iTunes and leave a review. Then you get an extra prize. We got 30 prizes to give away.
Wow.
30 prizes. And we've also got the Nerdrotic care package because we want your hands on our package. Dennis's idea, not mine. Melissa, you have a Twitter. It's at Agent Bossy Boots.
Mm-hmm.
She uses it once in a while. She has a business called Secret Agent Salon and Supply. It's got a Facebook page. You need to go there and check it out.
My busiest thing though that I probably have the most on is my IG. So my Instagram, Agent Bossy Boots.
Your IG? Is that what the kids are calling it these days? We have an IG too. It's called at Nerdrotic. She's very busy on and awesome on the Instagram, and I don't do it half as good as she does.
Maybe I'll have to take over your Instagram.
Maybe you should.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, maybe you should do like a beauty podcast someday. I think that'd be a great idea.
Maybe we could do some products.
We'll see.
We'll see.
All right, everybody, thank you for watching out there. Really appreciate it. We will be back with Westworld when it comes back, and we'll be doing other stuff. So until then, good night. Okay. Bye-bye.